Hey everyone, welcome back to another Bible study podcast on the Highlite podcast. I'm obviously Dominic. Today we are doing another Bible study with David Teschler. It's our seventh one. If you haven't seen the other ones, go check them out. Amazing conversations. But before we get into the substance of what we talked about, if you could please do us a huge favor and subscribe to the channel down below if you have not already. And if you like this conversation, please hit that like button. And if you want us to discuss any other topics, please comment down below. That way we get more engagement. The algorithm works on our side instead of against us, and helps the channel grow. But as far as what we talk about today, we go into the book of Job. We start talking about like how does God talk to us, and how are we supposed to see it, and how do we miss it, and if we miss it, like what do we do? Like what are the signs we should see? And then we go into like positive thinking. What does it mean to be a positive thinker? And plants seeds that we plant in our minds. And then forgiveness and a lot of other topics. It's a 2-hour conversation, amazing conversation. Again, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below and go ahead and give this video a quick like. I hope you guys enjoy the video. All right, David Teschler back on the podcast again for another. This is number 6, I believe. Bible study number 6. So 6 weeks of doing this.
Is it 6 already?
I believe it's number 6. 7th time on here, but number 6 for.
Dang, that's flying by.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and again, we're coming in unprepared. We're probably not going to do. I don't know. It was kind of cool, like digging into the book of Enoch a little bit, but I was just like, why? I don't even understand this book. Like, why go into that other books and confuse myself? And then I had this guy Derek on yesterday, Derek Nykirk,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about it and like why everything was put together. And he says it's kind of because he talks about this one. His name's Joseph something. He's from a different country. I think he's from the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
He's a pastor, but he talks about that the reason why books weren't put in there so it wouldn't confuse people, and that this book is like meant to. It's all like he said, it's perfect. It's a perfect book. So. I was like, why? I just need to figure this fucking book out first before I deviate my minds into other parts of the Jesus realm. But I still think the first book of Enoch is pretty cool. That's what I'm going with for why there's sin in the world. 200 angels came down, mated with some woman. Makes sense. And then now we're here.
That's a pretty crazy book for sure. But yeah, this is a lot to unwrap on its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like during your readings, anything come up to you, anything pop into your head you want to talk about? I know you got some notes today.
So some of these are actually old notes, but I was thinking today for like, I mean, even I like as a, I guess, weathered believer, like have a hard time hearing God's voice sometimes. And like, I was wondering what a good topic to talk about would be, and I was like, well, I bet as like a new believer, like it probably doesn't make any sense to like how when we as Christians say like God spoke to us, and like how does God speak to us, because not everybody says that like and explains it. It's usually just like, hey, pray to God and he'll speak to you. So I don't know. That was a interesting topic that I thought maybe we could talk about a little bit. Maybe you could share your experience on, how God talks to you personally.
Yeah.
And, giving an idea of how to hear his voice and how to listen for his voice to people that maybe have not experienced that or maybe didn't notice that they experienced it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to base it off what I read literally today.
All right.
So I read this today. It's in Job 34. It's at the end of verse 13, and it's from 13 to 16. I don't know if you want to look it up.
Job 34?
Yeah, 34. And it's kind of funny, right when you said that, I flipped right to the page.
I love when that happens.
I was in Psalms, like right here, but how often do you flip to the right page? But yeah, I was reading this today, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense after I was reading it, because, I guess I'll dive into it on why I think it makes more sense.
Yeah.
After I read it, but I'll wait for you to catch up on things here.
All right, what verse? 34?
Oh, sorry, 33.
33?
At the end of 13. And obviously, we have different versions.
Yeah.
at the end of verse 13 through 16. So it says, so why I say God doesn't respond to people's complaints, for God speaks again and again through people, and through people do not recognize it. Oh, though people do not recognize it. He speaks in dreams and visions at night when people sleep. When deep sleep falls on people as they lie in their beds, he whispers in their ears, and it terrifies them with warnings. He makes them turn from doing wrong, and he keeps them from pride. I'm going to stop right there, but like he talks to people in visions and talks to them when they're dreaming, talks to them when they're like when he said a lot of people don't recognize it. You know, I could get that. You know, when you said, how does God speak to you? I think before I go to bed, and Andrew Huberman talked about this on Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday. So what was yesterday? Wednesday the 28th. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wednesday the 28th. He was talking about like we get some of our best thoughts when we're laying at night, and that's when we get some. That's when Einstein used to just walk and say, like, close his eyes and his body would keep walking, but his body or his mind would stay still, and that's when he would get all his good thoughts. And Andrew Huberman was saying when you're laying on your bed at night and your body's in a static position, that's when you get all the thoughts, all the great thoughts, and your brain's actually working. So now when I read this, I was like, oh, I need to get some fucking amazing thoughts right before I go to bed. And I was like, oh, I'll remember it in the morning and I'll write it out. And I never do. I always forget.
Yep.
Like I probably had a good thought last night, and I was like, oh, dude, I'm going to write this out in the morning. It's going to be a great topic to talk about. Or that's going to be something great I should post or something great I should do tomorrow. And I always forget every single time. And, you know, how often does it happen? If I just had this little notebook next to my bed, all right, I'm going to write it out real quick. And then went to bed, how much more knowledge I would have. But, and one of the ways I think God speaks to us is like what Job said right here. I don't even know if it was Job. I think it was Job that talks. Yeah, it was Job's final protest of innocence to God. So he is talking to God, and he says God does speak to you in visions and when you're sleeping. Visions could be psychedelics, you know, who knows? But how do you think, and it terrifies you with warnings. I mean, that's, like, you know what happened to me, like what we talked about a while ago. Like I had warnings that something was going to happen, mm-hmm. but I thought it was going to be someone completely different, and then it ended up being that person. But I had warnings, and I was like, something just doesn't feel right. I feel like, you know, I'm going to lose someone here soon, and then bam, it happened. And when it happened, I was like, oh, I'm not really like shocked. I knew it was going to happen. I had these warnings. Not that I could tell the future. I just had like a feeling like, oh, something's going to happen. And, you know, once that happened, that feeling went away. And I was like, oh, God's talking. I just thought I was a different person. I didn't focus in on, you know, where he was guiding me or who, you know, what he wanted me to think it was. But yeah, I think he does talk to you like dreams, and then like when you're in a static position, not when your mind's everywhere else. Mm-hmm. Where do you think, how do you think God talks to you? Hey guys, quick break in the action here. If you guys have not, again, subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button down below, and then give this video a quick like. If you guys are enjoying it, please leave us a comment on anything that you'd want us to discuss in future videos. Yeah, I hope everything's going great in the video. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope this conversation is everything you're looking for. Yeah, get back to the video.
I mean, I think just used it in a perfect example of first and foremost in his word, because like you just read this today, and like I was thinking about this morning, and we did not talk about a topic to go on or what, but like that's what was, you know, brought before me, and I thought of many different things, and that's just something that I could relate over the last like couple weeks when I just felt like, you know, God's been quiet during some times when I've been trying to talk to him or get answers from him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dang, this is definitely like something that I guarantee most people deal with and stuff like that. And so for it literally to talk about exactly what you just said, for he does not give any accounting of any of his words, for God may speak in one way or in another, yet man does not perceive it. Like dreams, definitely. I mean, that goes back to the Old Testament, as we can obviously see here, reading in the Word, through people. Mm-hmm. I mean, God definitely sends people, and sometimes we've kind of talked about it when we judge what's worth our time and who's worth our time, that we don't know if God sent them our way for a reason, mm-hmm. whether it was for us or for them. And sometimes we just ignore that. And how you said you have a feeling of knowing something was wrong before
Mm-hmm.
that happened. I think as you grow closer to God, you kind of get more of a gift of discernment,
Mm.
and you can kind of tell not everything. Like, you don't obviously know that bad things are going to happen, but I like look at people differently. I can kind of get like a feeling off of them, and like some people will call it the gut, like their gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's God's discernment, and what's crazy is it's rarely ever wrong. And
Yeah.
like no matter how many times I don't listen to it, I always look back and I'm like, dang, I should have, because that was God talking to me and telling me like, hey, don't do this, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, whatever it may be. But I mean, I personally get God's revelation the most praying, and I learned to stop running away from thoughts, because like my mind wanders a lot, especially when I'm praying, because it's kind of quiet. Close my eyes, kind of get centered, and like my mind will go random directions. And like I used to get super frustrated about it, because
Mm-hmm.
it, to me, it was taking my focus off of God. But now I kind of look at it as like maybe that's what God needs me to pray about, or maybe like that's what I need to come to God about,
Mm-hmm.
since it's like entering my mind.
Do you ever just like I don't know if I would say like have conversations with God like when you're driving, but like talk out loud. Whenever I talk out loud when I'm driving, I assume I'm just talking to God, even though I'm just thinking out loud. And like that's how I guess I pray. Like I'm just sitting there talking, just talking and talking. And sometimes I catch myself, who the fuck am I talking to? People just watch. They probably think I'm talking on my car, which I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there talking in pure silence, just talking out loud. And like, do you think God wants you to kind of wander off, like you were saying, just to have like a normal conversation with Him, like have a different kind of relationship instead of just like a praying relationship and worshiping relationship, more of like a father son relationship. Like, hey, let's have a conversation. Tell me how you're feeling. I'll give you some thoughts. Some words to say out loud. Maybe you'll catch something that I'm giving you. Like, do you ever like think about that, or do you ever like have those kind of conversations like when you're just driving, or do you not have those so much?
No, yeah, I do. Whether it's driving or just out loud at home or whatever it may be. Some A lot of people, and I used to be one of them too, think that like prayer has to be so formal,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a certain way to pray, but really it's not. Like it's just opening up your heart and your ears to God, and like leaving things at the foot of the cross, and like coming to Him about whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
or just being grateful for everything He's given you, like whatever you're praying about. Like there really isn't, like, I would say, a structure. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can just have a conversation with God like you're talking to a friend, and
Mm-hmm.
to Him that's you coming to Him, which is what He wants in the end anyways.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's like a right or wrong way to do it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I would say though, when I am talking out loud, I wish I would record myself, because I say some of the best stuff. I'm like, damn, dude, I was fucking, I was going off right there. I was preaching. I was on fire, and then I'm like, what did I just say though? Like, I wish I would, instead of just getting in the moment and cooking. I wish I would have just been writing it down and thinking of it. That way I could rewrite it or re-say it later. But yeah, some of the best things I say out loud are when I'm driving, and I do think that's another way God talks to you, is when you're having out loud conversations with yourself or with other people. Like when we're talking right now, I'm not really thinking about what I'm saying. Like I'm just going off of it, and if I say something cool, I say something cool. It's definitely not me, because we don't plan any of this. Like we don't plan anything. I brought my notebook in case you said something cool I want to write down.
Yeah, I just wrote it down. Want to bring it in so I could write down questions if I
Yeah,
think of them while you're talking.
yeah, because I do go on tangents. But I just brought it just in case, but I don't write anything down. I just kind of just go, like today was that's just so weird. It kind of went together. I wanted to kind of bring that up today. I was like, oh, that'd be a cool topic to talk about. Like God comes to you and you're right before you go to sleep in your dreams. Like, and if we just were able to wake up or remember him and write it down right away, like how much further could we be? I already brought him up with the guy Derek. I talked to yesterday. He makes movies and stuff, and he's making a movie right now. And he said all the other ones before were so hard because he wasn't going based off faith, like he was doing himself. He'd be like, all right, I got it from here, God. And then every time it was just way harder. And he said this time he's doing a whole movie basing it off God, not pushing it for the patience. Like obviously you get impatient. But he said everything's falling in his lap. All the financing's falling in his lap. I'm not even looking for these people. They're coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we do look for God's vision or God's voice and we follow it, things fall in your lap. Things come to you. All your needs are met. Whatever you're planning on going, wherever God wants you to go, if it's on the right path, he'll provide you everything. You just have to sit there and listen. Because if you're not listening and going on the right path, I think we're blind when we're going on God's path. We can't see it. It's a spiritual path, so we only can see with our human eyes, and our human eyes can only see with the earthly things. We can't see spiritual things. So I think in our walk with God, like we're walking blind, we have to listen to his voice in order to make sure we're staying on the right path. Because if we're not listening to his voice, then it's so easy to just make one left turn, and then we're off God's path. And it's much harder to get back on that path. You have to listen, keep listening to get till you're right back on there. And who knows how much harder that other path is to get back there. And yeah, I think we do have to listen to the voice.
Yeah, that reminds me of Peter when God called him to come out on the roaring ocean with them. As soon as he took his eyes off God, he started sinking. And then, God reached out his hand and, asked like, why you so little faith?
Mm-hmm.
And just shows that if we focus on God truly and give all to him, that no matter how long it may take, a week, a month, a year, 10 years to get what we prayed for, but if we're faithful in that and being persistent, then, God's going to take care of us, because he calls for persistency. Like he says, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it will be open to you. All of those are persistent actions. You don't just ask once and then receive. You don't just seek once and then find what you're looking for.
But what if, again, like I think we talked about this before, what if you're asking for the wrong things? Like, is he going to give it to you? Like, you could keep asking for it. Like, for example, I'm just going to use you. I'm not sure if this is what you pray for, but you're a single man. I assume you're praying for a woman to come into your life. But what if you are praying for a woman, but God's like, you're not looking in the right spots? Like, you keep praying for me, you keep asking, and I want you to go somewhere else. I want you to look here. But every time you drive by it, every time I tell you to go into that bookstore, go into this place, I give you the thought and you drive right by it. And, it goes again, like you're asking for it, but, you're not listening. And it kind of goes in. I was reading Psalms today and I was like, damn, David really, it's the Psalms of David, the part I was reading, but I was like, damn, he really asked God like a lot. Why aren't you listening to me? Why aren't you listening to me? This guy's a king. He's like, all my enemies are around me. They're around me. They spit on me. They want me to crumble. They don't want me to succeed and stuff like that. What have I done? And this guy has favor from God. He's a king. He's one of God's kings. Yeah. And if he's asking, he has favor from God. If he's asking God, like, why aren't you listening to me? I'm just assuming like he's not asking for the right things, or the things are in front of him, but he's not listening. And I think that might happen to us like all the time. And I was like, if it happens to him, it's definitely happening to me. Like I'm either not praying for the right thing, I'm not listening, or I'm just being not doing anything at all, or not even thinking of what I want to go, or where God wants me to go. So again, long-winded answer to my thought of what it may be. You may be either asking for the wrong thing or not listening, and getting these intuitions. Is you're not listening to your gut feeling. For my example of finding a woman for you, he could say, hey, go to the Barnes & Noble. There's someone in there I want you to meet. And she's like, I need to go home and see Bricks. I want to go see. I want to go see my girl, my real baby girl. And then you go see your pup, and then God's like, hey, I had a good one for you there, dude. Yep. And then you missed it, and then I had to give her to someone else. She was praying for you, and you were praying for her. I lined you guys up, and then you didn't make the effort. She was there, and you weren't. And that can happen a lot. I'm not saying, I'm just using you as an example.
Yeah, no. I think it's a great example.
But a lot of people that may happen to, it could be like a job or whatever. Leaving a person, complete opposite, leaving a person versus finding a person. God could give you all these signs and just not listen or follow it. Or you see the signs and you just choose not to listen, which is so fucking worse, because just imagine that. Like I'll use you as an example again. Yeah, same thing. Like you keep asking God for a woman. And he's like, dude, Like, you're just not listening to me. Like,
Yeah.
I showed you one. You just didn't think that she was hot at the moment. Like, she just didn't have any makeup on. And for that moment, you just didn't think she was hot. And that's why you didn't want to talk to her. Or you thought she was fat and she was working on her body. You're like, oh, dude, you could have had her. She was working on her body. She's going to be a 10 out of 10 to you in like 5-6 months. Like, how annoyed would you be if you're giving someone a gift and every time they rejected it over and over and over?
Yep.
Like, here's your gift you've been asking for. Like, if someone wanted an Xbox or a video game console, but then in their head they wanted an Xbox and they gifted a PS5, and they said, no, I want an Xbox. Like, I'd be very pissed off.
Yeah.
Hey guys, quick little break in the action here. I want to give a quick shout out to Sky MD. It is the best hydration drink I have found on the market. I've tried so many different hydration drinks. Someone who takes their health pretty seriously, hydration is a key factor, especially if you're someone who's outside or pretty active, or just in general, someone who likes to use their brain. If you're dehydrated, you tend to have brain fog, you get headaches pretty easily or dizzy. Sky MD, one of the best, the best hydration drink I've had, has 1,300 milligrams of electrolytes. This one right here also has, it's the greens version, my favorite. I've tried the other ones. This one I just get my greens in as well. It has 26 superfoods in it, as well as all your pre and probiotics. And it comes with enzymes for your digestive and your gut health. If you're looking for something to help get you that energy you need and hydrate yourself, SkyMD is definitely the product I highly recommend. If you guys want to check out the link down below, it saves you 15%. Also, if you buy 3, you get 1 free. So highly recommend checking it out. If you're to bundle all this together, it's way more expensive than just one of these packages cost you. So highly recommend checking it out. SkyMD, link down below, 15% off.
I mean, honestly, that's a really good example because I think we all do that in our own way more than we think. Because I get those different like thoughts all the time, not necessarily about like that situation of like going into a Barnes and Noble looking for a woman, but like, I mean, that's a great example though. Like, because see, I battle with the discernment of knowing if it's God's voice or like me creating thoughts, because I overthink it to where I'll be sitting here, I'll be driving, for example. I'll be like, God, like, speak to me about something. And then in my head, I'll be like, all right, if God were to speak to me about anything, what would it be? And then, like, I'll create a scenario. And then I'm like, wait, is that God telling me to do this? Or am I just telling myself to do this and, like, looking for this? And that's where, like, I have a hard time of discernment.
Well, when you say, like, asking for something, are you just saying, like, hey, speak to me about something? Or are you being specific about it?
Being specific, I just didn't think of like an example.
Okay, give me like a random example.
All right, so like next like opportunity or like I struggle with whether I want to live in Arizona or not. And I'm like, hey, God, show me a sign, like if I'm not supposed to be here, if I'm called somewhere else, like make it clear to me because I can be oblivious. And like I'll say that because it's true. And then, next car I see will be like Texas Longhorns. And I'm like, oh, God, is that you? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I might just be creating this out of my head. But how do I know? Because, like, to me, it's not, like, that was kind of maybe an obvious example. But, like, sometimes it's not so obvious. And I'll, like, create the scenario in my head. And I'm like, dang, was that, like, all right, God, I got that one. But show me again if, like, that's me, if that's you and not me.
Yeah.
And then I don't see anything else, and I'm like, okay, maybe that was just me. But who knows? Like, maybe I'm missing out on the opportunity, and that's God, like, smacking his head, like, dude, I put it right in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, the Barnes & Noble thing, like, it could be for a job opportunity. Like, hey, maybe you need to go into this, even if it's like a bar, maybe you need to go out with your friends. Like, who knows who you're going to meet? It might be, like, a opportunity of a lifetime for you. If you just go in there, like, I'm giving you, there's a guy in there, super good guy, man of faith. He's just in this bar, paying for his sales reps or whatever. And I want you to work with him. You're going to be successful with him. And you're like, I don't want to go out. Like, so that's how I would be. I hate going out.
Yes.
I hate it. But there's a lot of wealthy people that go out. A lot of people, they like to have fun. Just because we don't like to drink doesn't mean, they don't like to drink. And, Yeah, I could see that as well. I do the same thing. Like, damn, I want to leave Arizona so bad. Like when I went to San Diego, I was like, God, it's a beautiful day. Are you telling me to move back here? Are you
Yeah, it's
telling me?
75 all day, every day, year round. Like,
You
and I
want?
live 5 minutes from the beach.
Yeah, you want me to move back? I'll move back. You want me to start selling again? I'll start selling whatever you need me to start selling. Solar, life. I have to be specific. So solar and life insurance.
Yeah.
uh, like I'll move back out here if it's your will. But then I get caught up in my head. I'm like, damn, if it's not God's will and I move out here, then I'm fucked.
Yeah, because I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you have too. Like we probably all have, where it's clear that it's not God's will, or we don't know if it's God's will, and we do it anyways because we try to take things into our own hands, and then sure enough, like bites us in the butt.
Yeah, it's always that what if? Like, what if I just did this instead of that? Like maybe God was telling me to do this, and maybe you get the realization way later on in life, or even after you make the decision, like, oh fuck, I made the wrong decision. Like God was telling me to go this way, and I went that way. I went my own humanistic way, and He was telling me to go this way, and that way is way better. The guy that took my position, that position got a promotion right away. He gets paid way more than I do. Has way better benefits, and I'm just here stuck at this job that I hate. I should have taken that position. Yeah. Yeah, it does suck.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it is. Like let's see, how can I use it an example? Like how relationships are a good example. Like you can be praying for the right partner, and like, hey God, like I'm praying that you're preparing my wife or husband for me, and guide them to me when the timing is right and stuff, and then you turn your back by going and like downloading Tinder. It's like, well, I mean, maybe that's God's way of leading you there. Who knows? It's not up to me, but now you're kind of taking it out of God's hands and like searching for it on your own too.
Or what if He gives you someone and then you go on Pornhub or you start looking up porn? Like, dude, that's a real big disrespectful thing. Like, you get this gift, you're like, this gift's not good enough. I don't like the look of this gift. I need something better. I need something that looks better to me that I'm never gonna get.
Yeah, but it's just so natural. Like we take things into our own hands, and like that's not how like God says to leave it.
Yeah, leave it
at His
cross.
feet, leave it at the foot of the cross. Like, but it's so easy and so natural for us as people, especially men, because we want to be able to do it all. We want to be the problem solvers in every situation and have our natural obligation to lead. But sometimes that leads us to failure and tough lessons that God didn't have for us to learn. But we have to, because we decided to do our own thing and
or maybe
stray off the path.
Yeah, maybe He wanted us to learn those lessons too. You just never know. Like maybe you went down the shitty path and I was like, all right, you're gonna learn these lessons instead. But you just never know. And I just got to thinking, like, because we're talking about the Book of Job, and I was like, dang, if we don't listen, like, is it sinning and stuff like that? And he talks about, because he does this protest to God. And I was thinking earlier today, because like, what if these are? Because I try looking at everything as like, what's the whole story of this? Like, what am I supposed to get out of this? And I think Job and Job 31 kind of breaks down like the levels of sin and stuff like that. Because the first one is, have I lied? Being a liar is not a good. It's like deceiving people. And I think it's one of the worst sins. Like he lists pretty much all these bad sins in order. I wonder if that's like, because the only reason I brought it up is like the lustful thing and porn. And I highlighted this. And it says, if my heart has been seduced by a woman, or if I have lusted for my neighbor's wife, then let my wife serve another man, or let other men sleep with her. For lust is a shameful sin, a crime that should be punished by fire, or should be punished. Sorry, it is a fire that burns all the way down to hell. It would wipe out everything I own, and that's out of all of them. And I was like, dude, that's pretty deep. Just by lusting for another woman, like you could lose everything. And it goes back to like King David. He had everything, lusted for other women, went to other women, lost everything. And that happens so often. And I think it does lead to weaker men. And even Dan Bilzerian was talking about monogamy and how it feels way more natural. You know who Dan Bilzerian is,
Yeah.
dude. That guy was a playboy, the playboy for years. When we were in high school, 2012, 2013, whenever he came out, he was going balls to the wall, shooting guns, having all these chicks around him, topless, in his bed, everything. He's like, dang, dude, that's a fun life. This guy's living it up. And then he even comes out and says, yeah, that wasn't that fun.
Yeah.
I had way more. It was way more natural being with one woman versus being with several. And I was like, dude, it does make sense. Like, I feel way better with Monica than I did when I was sleeping around with, say, a few women, not too many. When I was sleeping around, and I wasn't that attractive, so I didn't get too much. But I was way more like sad and not at peace when I was doing the other stuff versus just being with one woman. And it does make sense. Like when a lot of people, they lose their wife, a lot of men, when they lose their wife, a lot of them go downhill. They lose their men. They lose everything. It's fucking divorce. They take everything from them. So I don't know if he means like you lose everything from divorce, or God's literally gonna burn your life down because you are lusting for someone else and going for someone else versus sticking with your being faithful.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely go a couple different ways with that. And I think like how you were using the example of like Dan when we were like graduating high school and stuff like that, like it was easy to like idolize that and be like, dude, I wish I had 110s around me, like naked and on a however many $1 million yacht, sailing the world, not having a care in the world. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to shoot $20,000 guns and blow stuff up, and like that's the life that I want. And as you grow older and sometimes even live like even a taste of that life of sleeping around or having multiple women and stuff like that, like as you grow older, you grow out of that and you're like, dang, that's not fulfilling at all. Like that was the worst rock bottom of my life. And just like drinking and stuff like that, like I was using that as an escape. And you could use, I mean, one, going for the wrong woman, even if it's just one, and in your heart it's not right, because God calls us to be equally yoked. And I've learned this lesson myself, dating someone that wasn't equally yoked, and just absolutely, like, I was doing great, everything was going well, like my relationship with God was great, and I never lost my relationship with God after it, but just like that, it was like upside down, dumped all the water out of the cup, and you're starting over. And I knew in my heart from the beginning, like, hey, I should have stayed away from that, and I didn't. And that's a lesson that I had the choice whether I needed to learn or not. And I did, because I didn't listen to God's voice. I didn't listen to my gut feeling.
Yeah, and when you're sleeping around too, you have to think like the mental state. Like if let's just say a woman or a man, regardless of whatever you are, transgender, whatever the fuck you are. If you're sleeping around, like what do you have to do to sleep around? First of all, you have to get someone to like you, which is a lot of work. Which means if you're a guy, you have to go spend money. If it's a girl, you have to get ready, do your makeup, and wear revealing clothes in order for guys to get you free drinks and or hook up with you. And if you're hooking up with people over and over and over again, it devalues you, like mentally and spiritually. Like you said, it was the rock bottom. I mean, it feels good because you have to go out and drink. You have to go out and do all these things. Go spend money, which, it's a resource. You don't want to go spend money if unnecessarily, especially on alcohol, because you're more likely to have to drink. Go out and get food. Go spend all this other things just for one night, for a few moments. If you're 30 seconds. Like, that's all you're spending, all this money for 30 seconds. Like, dude, why? And then after that, like, you don't feel good. That person that's laying in your bed, like, it's not going to be the person for life. And then you go do it again. Like, oh, maybe I'll go find someone else. You go do it again. Keep sleeping around. Now you devalue yourself mentally, spiritually, and physically, because now people know you slept around, and now you're not valuable anymore. Man or woman, like, you're not valuable once you slept around with so many people. And it is skewed more towards women. Like if women slept around more than with more men than men with women, then it looks really bad. But I do think it's bad, just as bad for a man, to sleep around with just as many women.
Mm-hmm.
It's glorified though in our society, but I think it's just as bad mentally for them as well, because and it should be as bad in the society. Men should be respectful, to women and themselves, because if they're doing that to themselves, not really respecting themselves or the people around them, and they're just bringing themselves down, and their friend group's going to follow with them. So
yeah, and if you sleep around, you got those soul ties and stuff, even though you might not feel it.
What is a soul tie?
I mean, that's God calls us to, not be with anyone, have any sexual morality with anyone but your spouse that you're married to. So, I mean, what a officially soul tie is, I don't know, but you're giving a spiritual piece of yourself, of what God calls something to be an isolated incident with one person, to multiple people. And, that's sometimes I think it's easier for guys to, I guess, not feel or acknowledge that. Like women tend to, from what I've seen, get like more attached from things like that. But I mean, whether we feel it or not, like they take something from us and we take something from them. Having that sexual immorality, and I think that's the biggest struggle for everybody, believers, non-believers, all that, is like the lust and sexual immorality, because like it's not as hard to quit drinking and stuff like that, but if you like have that, some people use that to fall back on that to feel valued. And once you kind of like really deep dive and find your value in God, like that he kind of helps kill that to where you don't have that desire, at least as frequently.
And but you have to stay on that path, right? Once you go off that path, those desires come back immediately, regardless of whatever they are. And you can have that feeling with a friend too. It doesn't have to be like a sexual relationship. You can meet someone for the first time, be like, oh, dude, that was a great conversation. I feel like your dopamine level spiked through the roof. And it could be someone obviously lying to you, met them for the first time, and then this happens to people all the time. They get Ponzi schemed or whatever all the time. They'll talk to someone, a great salesman, tell them whatever they need to hear. He's super charismatic, becomes their friend, and then bam, screws them over because they trusted this guy they had a great conversation with, trusted him, again, mentally, spiritually, thought it was the right guy, said all the right words, and then got screwed over in the long run. And it happens a lot. Again, it doesn't have to be sexual. It could be a normal friendship that you meet someone at Starbucks, and then that person just is out there hunting out to get you. And it does say something was also weird, kind of goes to this, like when you go back to things, it was in, I don't know if it's in 2 Corinthians or 1 Corinthians. I think it's in 2 Corinthians, but he talks about no, this is forgiveness. Well, Paul talks about, I can't find it. This one's good too. I'll read that. Oh, so in Corinthians 2:5 or 2:4, 2 Corinthians 4, sorry. 2 Corinthians 4:4, Paul says, Satan, who is a god of this world, has blinded the minds of those who don't believe. They are unable to see the glorious light of the good news. They don't understand this message about the glory of Christ, who is the exact likeness of God. So I was like, oh, because in the Bible it does say God says don't love any other god but myself. So there's other gods. And it kind of goes back to Job, like why was Satan, give in front of God so many times? And you could put that to the other book we were reading, Enoch. Like, oh, he was just one of the fallen angels. But like Satan is a god, if he's a god of this earth, of the earthly world, which makes sense. Like it's just an earthly world. And this whole scripture talks about not the whole scripture, but it talks about going and being a spiritual body versus an earthly body. And when our earthly body dies, then we get our spiritual body. Um, but if Satan is the god of the earthly world, it makes sense on how, like, it kind of could tie back to the book of Enoch. Like when we do all these bad things, like he could just be the leader of all these little evil spirits telling us to do all these bad things. And going on the lust thing and going off track, like, hey, I'm going on this path to God. I'm doing great. God's getting rid of all these temptations for me. And then you go into let's just say you're in a relationship and you go into Barnes and Noble and Satan's like, oh, I'm gonna plant this one here for you, and bam, a cascading effect happens. You're like, oh man, she looks good. She looks real good. And under that, it's Satan, and under, it says the devil wears Prada, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Satan is Satan, the enemy, devil, whatever the fuck you want to call it, has a big effect on why people relapse and go back to their old ways. Because I think it could be seen as a drug when you do these things, right? I mean, let's just say you're watching porn. You're not, unless you're fucking weird, you're not just sitting there watching porn just to watch the full.
Just watching it like a movie.
Yeah, you're not watching the full 30-minute clip. Like, you're not watching beginning to end. If you're a normal human, some people, to each their own, right? To each their own. There's a lot of weird stuff on there. People watch it. But you're not just going to watch it. You're going to go and you're watching it for a need, right? You're going to do something. You need something. You're going to masturbate, male or female. And you're going to get off on it. And what happens when you get off on it? Your dopamine spikes. Where you're doing all these other things. When you lust for something else, or when you lie to someone. When you successfully lie to someone about something, even if it's a small white lie. Like when I used to lie to cops. I haven't lied to cops since, what's the statute of limitations? I haven't lied to a cop in, let's say, 15 years when I was in eighth grade. Whenever I was in 8th grade, 2008. Was the last time I lied to a cop. But if you ever successfully get away with a lie, especially if it's to a cop, you feel amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, that's a great feeling. I bet I could get away with that. If I got to lie to a cop, who else can I lie to? And then, bam, another cascading effect. And I think it is like a drug. All right, because when you stop, it's people that lie so often, they get into this world where their whole life is a lie. And I can't imagine unraveling all that and living a life of truth. It'd be so hard to not go back to living a life of a lie because it's so easy. It's something you planted all those seeds. You planted them, you dug them deep. You keep planting and replanting those seeds of lies. And to replant that, it's got to be almost impossible. I'm not honestly impossible. If you stay on the path of God, it's easy. Mm-hmm. But once the enemy gives you that one temptation to lie again, it could just be a little white lie, and then you're back on that train and relapsing on that quote-unquote drug. And a lot of these sins are drugs, right? Loving other gods could be loving money. People are obsessed with loving money. Other things, loving fucking TV shows over God. Not loving your neighbor. It's easy to not love your neighbor, especially in Arizona. You talk about all the time you're driving. And whatever the other sins are, all the other sins, like, I don't know if GTA's sinning if you're playing Grand Theft Auto. What says you shouldn't? I've only killed people in video games, but I don't think I'd ever want that drug again. I don't think I'd ever want that drug, and that's a drug I never want to try.
What, killing someone?
Yeah, because I said you shouldn't murder, right? That's one of the sins. But I was saying just because I was correlate the sins with like a drug like effect when you do these things, and when you're off these drugs, it's easy to relapse because these drugs are sins. So it's easy to relapse and go back when you're not on the path of God.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at that on both sides, like good or bad. Like when we talk about like motivation and stuff being in like sales and stuff like that, they say like stack up your little wins. So, as you start stacking up little wins, like things start rolling positive momentum in a good direction. It could just as badly go the opposite way to where, all right, I'll have a shot. All right, 2 shots won't hurt. Mm-hmm. All right, I've already had a couple shots. I'm feeling fine. I'll do another double shot because I don't feel anything right now, so I'll be in control. I'll be good. Mm-hmm. And then, all right, I'm just going to sip on this beer, and that's it the rest of the night. Perfectly good. He bought me another beer, so I guess I'll just have this one and I'll cut myself off. Oh, well, now I'm drunk. Oh, and now this girl's coming up to me and she definitely wants something. And then like one little decision just unravels and unravels and unravels, and now you're, drunk. You're, dealing with lust and sexual immorality, and you're putting yourself in a hard position that if you were sober would have been an easy, like, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah. And like that could be, we'll use a sales example, right? It could be someone that is on the right path, making all these amazing moves. And, we know someone that, just happened to, I'll tell you later, but like making all these amazing moves and doing all these amazing things, making all this money, life's great for them. And then they go out to like, let's just say a sales party or whatever, a little team gathering, team event when they're drinking. And they just do a few drinks and then bam, they ruin their whole life off of one night out and going out and doing, because now they're back. And then if you think about it too, let's just say that is a person. You're making millions and millions of dollars. You go out, and then you go out with your team. You end up sleeping with one of your team members or whatever, one of your coworkers. You sleep with them. Your wife finds out. Bam, your whole world's done and over with. She leaves you. You lose everything. And then everything else that happens after that. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to be like Job. They're not going to be like God. What does Job say in the beginning to his wife? Let's see.
Like calls her like a foolish woman.
Yeah. So he calls her foolish. And he says it's in Job 10. And he says, but Job replied, you talk like a foolish woman. Should we accept only good things from the hand of God and never anything bad? And if no one, how many people think like that? Should we only accept good things? Is God only going to give us good things? No. Like, if we fuck up, God's going to take that shit away. He's going to put us in timeout, dude.
Yep.
And whenever my dog pees in the house, dude, they get, like, dude, spank him on the butt, put their nose to it, put him in timeout.
Yeah. Because he's a good father, and a good father does discipline. Like, and I think, this could go down a completely separate rabbit hole, but, like, that's why a lot of people growing up in, like, these new generations don't act right, is because, like, when I was growing up, if I acted up in Walmart, I was in the bathroom getting... And guess what? I grew up to be all right because I learned when not to do things, and I had consequences for my actions. And now, just like a good father would, God, there's consequences when we don't follow what he calls us. He gives us all the answers right here in this book. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And yet we still do that, and that. And then we're like, well, why me, God?
Yeah.
Like, well, because we didn't listen. And
how do you think, I know we're both still learning. Last pause in the action. Thank you guys for sticking around so far. If you guys have not, shameless, subscribe down below. Also hit that like button. And then comment whatever you guys want us to talk about in the future. I have Monica coming on, my fiance, in the next podcast. But yeah, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, please, it'll help support the channel, help us get more guests, bring on more guests in the future, and just get more eyes on the channel. It helps us out a lot, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the podcast. But what do you think would be the easiest way to stay on that kind of path? Like if God's giving you the answers, like what would be the easiest way? Like what do you think? I know this is for me as well to kind of think about this, but I want you to answer first so I can get more time. What do you think is the way? Like even if you're reading the Bible and stuff, or what?
Or like following God and like
yeah,
listening to the things that he calls us to do.
Yeah, like how do you think that is? Because many people are going through that, right?
Yeah, it's hard to not battle with things at any point. At least from my experience. Like growing my relationship over the years, I've definitely not had temptations to do a lot of different things that I might have before. And I think one of the biggest changes I did is consistently going to church, consistently making it a non-negotiable part of my day to be in God's word and to talk to him. and to also surround myself with people that are like-minded, because if you just go to church on Sunday, you might hear a great feel-good message, it might speak to you, and then by Monday morning you already forgot that message. You're hanging out with your friends that don't believe in God, that are talking about going out Friday and getting drunk and doing all these things, and then in your head you're listening to, you know, a bunch of like negative rap music. It's talking about drugs and sex and stuff like that, and you're filling your head with all these different things that aren't pointing you to the right direction. You want to be around the people that point you to God, whether you're on a high or on a low, at rock bottom. Like, you want those people to uplift you and point you back to this, because this is ultimately what saves you.
So would you say, like, the first step out of all that, let's just say I go to church and I read the Bible on the Bible app every once in a while on Sundays. I bring it out when the pastor starts reading pull the scriptures up. What would you think would be the first step? Like, would it be like finding a good friend group, committing to reading the Bible more, or like what would you think would be the first step? And like, I guess being on the path of God, and because we all miss the signs, but I guess finding more signs and being more aware of the signs and staying on the guidebook. Like, if you're just reading the guidebook, like you're talking about, like what would you say would be the first step to being, I guess, committed to the guidebook?
I think we all have our own journey and our own first step. I can speak from my experience of, I guess I used my stubbornness as a way to kind of force myself onto this path. And so I started by, I just went to church with like when I shared my testimony, I shared that I just went to church with my family for Easter. I wanted to make my mom happy. Like, I still believed in God, but I still had that sour taste in my mouth from church. And I went there, and I just felt God's presence and felt welcomed and all that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back next week, because that felt good. Like, that was a great way to use 2 hours of my Sunday on my day off. And I went back the next week, and I met more people that, you know, talked to me, got to know me, and showed me a different side of church. And so I went back again and again. And then as I was listening and taking in all the things that were being preached to me, I like kind of had to have a self-reflection moment where I was like, well, where am I going wrong? Like, because I started to get stagnant, and I was like, all right, well, how can I take a next step? So then I started like serving in church, because I was like, y'all know what? I need to meet more people, because I feel good when I'm around people that are pointing me to God. So I started serving in the church, and I started meeting more people. And then I started seeing like the kids that went to the church, and I was like, you know, I wish I had someone like my age right now that would have poured into me. So I signed up to do youth and started like using that. Like, it seemed like I was doing it to volunteer for them, but like I was doing it selfishly for me too, because like I was growing just as much as I was trying to help them grow. And then my mom was telling me, she's like, yeah, I'm going to do a Bible challenge where I'm going to read the Bible through a year. I was like, oh, how'd you do that? Or how are you going to do that? And she's like, well, apparently if you read like 3 chapters a day. And I was like, okay, so if I tell myself I'm going to read 3 chapters a day, my stubborn self will read 3 chapters a day, because I'm going to make it a goal. And so I did. And I don't know if it was actually 3 chapters or not, but that's what I remembered. So I was like, I can read 3 chapters a day. That's inexcusable. There's no reason I can't do that. I can take time off my phone, take time off TV, whatever it may be during my day, to replace it with this, and I'll see how it transforms my life. So it was still selfish in a way, because I was like, what is it going to do for me?
Yeah.
And then before I knew it, I'm halfway through the Bible, haven't missed a day. And I just kept feeling more and more called. Like, I was growing, like I was understanding the Bible in a completely different way. I didn't view it the same way as before. And I just kept, like, I wanted to take more steps to pray to God and have that relationship with God. So I like made my certain points of the day where they're like non-negotiable times to talk to God.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally stopped and looked back, and before I knew it, it's been like a year and a half. And even though I've gone through like different trials and stuff over that year, I'm like, I'm pretty at peace. Like
Yeah.
this is great. Like I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. Like I'm not falling into that. And am I super happy and like everything in my life is perfect? No.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel fine about it. Like I know that something's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I still know something's coming, whether it's right around the corner or a few years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just taking like the first step is following God's voice or that little nudge that you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Church is a great way, just going to church on Sundays to start. And I've seen it transform other people just by doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they reach out to me and they're like, hey, like I've been loving the church. When did you start serving? How did you do that? And like I see the same steps. So like if that was me and I was giving advice, I would say just start going to church consistently on Sundays with an open heart. Don't go there like just to check the box. Because if you go there just to check the box, you're not going to grow. I mean, maybe you will, because maybe one little part catches your attention or one person talks to you and, you know, that's a revelation for you. But if you just go with an open heart and good intent, I think God will handle the rest.
Yeah. That's awesome, though. I like hearing your testimony again. It's awesome to hear it, dude. But I want to unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're already going. So your first real step back was getting back into church for Easter, right? And then your second thing, it seems like you found a community. Like the real thing that got you locked in was a community. Because if you just go and be like, you just go to church and sit down, it doesn't seem like you get much of an effect. At least I don't get much of an effect. I like to be. I think putting yourself in a community where people know a lot more than you do is the best, because then you kind of and I'm not just saying you, I'm saying in general, or even myself. I feel stupid if the people know a lot more than I do, and I don't like. No one likes feeling stupid, so automatically, like you're gonna want to learn more, and it could be just from them asking questions, asking your pastor questions, asking people. No, just a little. Let's just say you're in preschool and they're in kindergarten. They know all of preschool. They can help you get through preschool way quicker than you can. So you just ask them questions, ask a kindergartner questions. And then when you get to kindergarten, you can ask a first or second grader questions. They can help you skip the process quicker. That whole year's worth of knowledge, they could give it to you if you're just asking your community questions. And then you could go into the Bible. Now, I've been following for years, right? You and I have both been following for a long time. And just like yourself, I fell off the path. And I, by the grace of God, I got put back on the right path. And, I just never read the Bible. My mom gave me this one, I think 2 years ago, and it's the easiest one. I had the King James ones that so hard to read. The Bible's like, I want the original fucking Bible. Don't give me this twisted shit. And I was like, all right, I cannot read this.
Ye, therefore.
Ye thou, I harvest thy seed. Thou is, yeah, dude, it's just too much. I'm like, oh man, this is hard. I feel like I'm getting smarter, like in the English accent, in the English ways of speaking, but like it was just so difficult. And then when I was put around people, and it could be selfish. Like I want to be able to impress people, but hey, I know something about the Bible. If I talk to people, like let's just say George Ank, I'm just gonna use him as an example. He's very big in the Christian world. Mm-hmm. I don't want to talk to him and say I'm a Christian and not know shit about the Bible.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, Christian, what's your favorite verse? What's your favorite book? Oh, why is that your favorite book? And just only know like surface level questions. I want to be able to dig deep. And that's if anyone in an argument, right? If you argue with someone, let's say you and I get in an argument and I ask you why you think like that, and you don't know why you think like that, like you lost your whole argument. Mm-hmm. Like everything's done. You look stupid. Like you don't have any deep thought. I think that's going back to what you said earlier. Like, well, one of the bigger issues we have, I don't think we dig deep enough into our thoughts. And it comes with parenting. Like when we're a parent, I'm not a parent. I'm a parent. But we don't dig deep in our thoughts. I'm gonna use my dogs as an example. Like if I'm not looking at them and seeing how they act, how they react to things, and I'm only being surface level on teaching them things, they're not going to listen to me. They're not going to react how I want them to react. And that's how children are, I would assume, in the same way. But I think the things that like will probably the first step that happened to you. I think it happened to me as well, is finding a community that you kind of want to impress in the God world, in the Christian world, I guess you could say. And if you want to impress them, you're going to want to do these other things to impress them. You're going to read the Bible. But hey, I read the Bible first week this week. I read the Bible 3 days. You want to impress them. You're going to want to brag about it, especially if you've never read it before and they know you haven't read it. So I think that's one of the major things, is finding that little, even if it's one or two people, just find one or two accountability partners. When people are in AA, like, they have an accountability partner before they relapse. It's the same thing like I was talking about. It's a drug. When you're living in this normal earthly world, you're living in a life of drugs, easy life, dopamine-filled life, boring life. Like most people, again, I can't speak on this one myself. I guess I can. I played a lot of video games at night, but most people, they wake up, they go to work, they're a slave for 8 to 10 hours a day, depending on their position, and they go home, sit on the couch, watch TV, go to sleep, and do it all over again. They're literally living this revolving cycle, and nothing's ever changing. And I think if you put yourself in a group, that it'll force you to change. Like, you're going to want to change up a lot. And let's see, I wanted to unpack something else. That's why I brought up the scripture. Oh, so you said something like, I don't know. You said a lot, and I'm trying to unpack. I should have written it down.
What was the long-winded answer?
It's good. I like it. Well, it's in Job again. Or no, this is in Corinthians. 2 Corinthians. And it's like having a veil over your head. Like he says that Moses had a veil over his head, so people could not see his glory. And I think that's how a lot of people are in the Christian faith. They put a veil over their head. Oh, because you're talking about selfishly. Like, selfishly, you want to read the Bible. You're stubborn, or you want to join these groups selfishly so you could make more friends, or be around different people, meet new people, right? I don't think that's a selfish act per se, because he does say, whenever someone turns over to the Lord, their veil is taken away, for the Lord's is a spirit, and whenever the spirit of the Lord is there, or wherever the spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. So all of us who have had the veil removed, we can see and reflect in the glory of the Lord. So I think when you are doing these things, you're taking the veil off. Like, you're learning more and more things about God, and then God starts speaking through you, showing off through you. Because now you don't do these things anymore, right? You're not drinking anymore. You don't go out. You're not obsessive over, not using you as an example, but you're not obsessing over women, whoever this may be. You're not obsessing over women. You're not doing all these other things, because you're on the path of God, and you're following the faith of Jesus, and now he's showing it through you. Now you're walking in God's light. People are going to probably they probably have started seeing things, and you're like, oh, David, you look a lot happier now. Like, what's going on? Why aren't you stressed out? You're going through all these things. Like, you just seem so fine. Like, why? And I think that is probably God, obviously talking through you, or showing off through you. And it's probably because he did all these things. God guided you. He said, all right, I want you to go to kids ministry. Again, because it could be your intuition. God speaking through you. Hey, you're going to meet some cool people. It's going to guide you on the right path. You're going to learn a lot of things from them. And then you're going to be able to teach these things to someone that doesn't know as much. Be able to keep doing that and replicating that over and over. But yeah, dude, I love hearing your testimony, dude. It's, because a lot of people are probably like that. And again, it takes, if it doesn't happen to you at your first church, you can find a different church. Be picky. If we're talking about like spouses and stuff, it took me 6 years to propose to Monica. 6 years, almost 6 years. It was like 5.5 months, 5 years and 6 months, 5.5 years to propose to her. I was picky, dude. I'm not wrapping my life or playing my whole life with someone, or committing my whole life to someone without doing my due diligence. I want to make sure she can handle the roller coaster, right? The ups and downs. And you got to make sure the church is the same way. You got to make sure you can still go there through the ups and the downs. When you're feeling down, you got to make sure you can go there and have someone to lean on to help you lift you right back up. When you're on your highs, when you're feeling the best you ever felt, you got to make sure you're still going back to church, because that's what got you there, right? God got you to where the highest highs you've ever been. But just like Job, he could take you down to the lowest lows you've ever been, right? And you got to make sure when the highs and lows, you're still going to church, and you have to find a church allows you to do that. Because I've been, again, I told this before, but I've tried going to other churches.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried, and I can't even get through worship.
Yeah.
And I'll leave. I'm like, all right, this is not for us. We gotta get out of here. And you get the church that fits you the best. You'll notice. You'll know right away. But all right, this is it.
Yeah, you will know very quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to listen to that too. Like, because if you try to force it, going to the wrong church over and over, like, it might ruin it for you.
Mm.
Because that's God saying that this isn't where his presence is, at least for you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it speaks to someone of a completely different demographic, but the person, the group, whatever it is that you need isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And so to listen to that voice and keep searching and keep having faith that he's going to guide you somewhere, because it might not be the first one, it might not be the second, it might not be the third. It might take you 8 different churches.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes. I've been to a lot of different churches over my life, not just like visiting
Mm-hmm.
with like family or friends, but like actually trying to find one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just listen, like, nope, I feel it right away, or very shortly, and like, hey, this isn't the right spot for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. Sometimes I felt in the parking lot. I was like, there's no even point walking in. Like, it's not gonna be. Like, there's some that are good that you can just go to. Like CCV, it's like, all right, I know what I'm getting. It's like, I get not trying to be rude to CCV. They're a great church. You go get food there, everything, anything you want there, mega church. But you kind of know what you're getting. It's like In-N-Out Burger. You go to In-N-Out because you know you're gonna get the same quality burger. You don't like the fries, but same quality fries every time. Same quality milkshake. You know we're gonna get every time. It's not gonna vary from that. But if you go to like a normal church, like other churches that aren't mega churches that don't have that kind of, I assume they have a board. CCV does. I'm not sure they do, but I know a lot of mega churches, they have a board of directors. They kind of guide the services for the next X amount of months. They already know. They probably know a year in advance what they're going to be preaching and all that. So you know what you're going to be getting. You know exactly what kind of worship you're going to be getting, what pastor is going to be preaching, what kind of sermon each pastor is going to do. When you go to like a normal non-mega church, like you're just coming. I know you guys are building a building, but you guys are in a school right now, and ours is. The one we go to is it's pretty big. It's not a mega church by all means, but it's pretty big. You go to these things, you don't know what you're going to get. It's like going to a random restaurant. Like, you don't know if the burger is going to be good. You don't know how consistent the burger is going to be, and you want to figure out if that burger place is good for you, if that's a 5-star restaurant for you. Mm-hmm. Or you go to, if you want to guarantee an In-N-Out kind of burger, you go to a mega church, because a mega church, they're going to give you good quality service, the things you need, the necessities, but it might not be over the top because you have to cater to everyone. If you're in a mega church, it's got to be hard. And it's got to be hard preaching to a mega church.
Yeah, I think that's when, not always, but I think that's when some like messages turn into feel-good messages rather than like scripture truth-based messages. And like that's a big red flag that I look for when I'm searching for a church, is churches that use the gospel and like are actually quoting the word and breaking down the word, compared to a motivational type of speech and message that is almost like a one-size-fits-all that anybody can listen to and apply. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because maybe that's just an entry that someone needs to just get them back again. But that's just something that as you develop your relationship, like if you're not breaking down scripture, then you're not truly understanding who God is.
Yeah.
Because I can make things sound great without reading the Bible and just throw God in there a couple times. And it might make you believe in a God, but you don't know the God.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. I've never watched Joel Osteen. He's done great things. I know he has a lot of great books. So this is all from other people's perspective. I haven't watched heard anything, but I just hear he's a great Christian motivational speaker. Like he's not like a pastor. A pastor, I think, is like a coach. I think of pastors of a coach, like a coach from God. Coach you how to be on the right path. And I think a motivational speaker is someone that a coach uses to help keep you, like just to amp you up a little bit. I wasn't the greatest football player, so it's probably be more towards you. But like when you're in the locker room and you had someone beside your coach come and give you a motivational speech that hypes you up, right? For that brief to run out to the halftime, hypes you up for that little moment. But long term, it's not going to be there for you, right? Your coach is going to be the one guiding you through the rest of the game. That motivation is going to be to help you get there. It's going to help you. But you need a coach because the motivation is going to go away immediately. If you don't have a good coach, you can have the best motivational speaker in the world come and talk to you at halftime. But if your coach sucks, like you're not, and calling bad plays, like you're not going to do too well. And I'm not saying these pastors of the mega churches are bad. I'm just saying they're more motivational type of speakers. And if you get these motivational speakers every Sunday, like you're not gonna take that motivation far. Like you said, Monday is a new day. They're going back to their original habits, back to their Satan way of living. Satan is a god of the earth, so you're going back to the earthly way of living. And I think you need a coach, a real coach. That's your pastor to guide you through life. Because if you have a coach, he's all right. This is a playbook. These are the plays you need to run till Wednesday. And once Wednesday comes back around, we'll give you a new playbook that'll last you till Sunday. You apply these things, you'll be fine. We'll get you through it. We'll get you through it. Just keep applying these things. Keep reading the Bible. Read these few verses. You need a coach. Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, for some people, it could be their entryway back into church. And who knows? Maybe it helps people. Maybe people do find their way with God through that. But I do think it's like a one size fits all for a lot of people. And I think and again, nothing wrong, nothing bad against it. One size fits all is cool. There's a lot of universal fits kind of shirts. Cool. You sell a lot of them, get a lot of people to come. But I think if you really want to get a deep message and have a real walk with God into your own personal life, I think finding a smaller, doesn't even have to be smaller, just finding a church that truly fits your word. And like you said, breaks down the Bible. Like, all right, what does this word mean? Like, well, I'm not saying we're pastors by any means, but we're going just over specific verses. Like, what does this mean to us? What does this verse mean to us? And I think that's how good pastors really do it. All right, what does this word mean? How can you apply this to life? What are some things you could be doing in life, like examples you could be doing in life, or even examples in their own life when pastors do that? Because it's easier when there's examples, like we're talking about right here, like unveiling yourself. And now you're doing all these quote unquote selfish things, and now you're unveiling yourself to the world, and now the world sees the light in David, right? Long-winded answer.
Yeah. But I mean, a good, like using a coach example, you could use it as a friend example, a pastor example. Like, in relativity to what we're talking about, like a feel-good, one-size-fits-all message is going to be all happy, all be all. But a good friend is going to tell you when you're messing up. A good coach is going to tell you, hey, these things that I'm telling you to run until Wednesday, your routes kind of suck. So fix this and this. And then come back and we'll work on it again. Mm-hmm. Because if it's all just, hey, you want to know what? You've been doing great. Have you been the best? No, but it's okay because you've been trying. Like, it's not, the Bible isn't all happy. Yeah. There's murder, there's rape, there's incest, there's a whole bunch of, death and different things. Like, it's not all happy. And all the things that God calls us to be, to do, is not things that you're going to want to do. So to have a pastor that tells you, you're not supposed to live this way, and like you shouldn't be doing this, rather than mega church that is a feel-good message, like make sure you pray, make sure you believe in God, treat everybody with love, all this, and everything will be just fine. That's not the truth. Mm-hmm. So like to have a good church, a good community that tells you the hard things, there's a certain way in some situations to tell the hard things. It's not good to always be like super judgmental and like push people away from church, because church is for the sick. Mm-hmm. And like it can really ruin someone's relationship, just like both of our testimonies where we felt super judged and called the church when we were living with sin, but we were still going to church. And like maybe we could have turned our life around a lot faster if we were more welcomed and embraced rather than shamed, or at least felt shamed. Yeah. Like there's a way to you know, walk with people like that and kind of build a relationship with them rather than like somebody smells like tequila today and kind of putting them down.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. And maybe, to start, if you're brand new, if you need a feel good message and all that, but as you start deepening your relationship, you need to be scripture based, because otherwise you're never going to truly know God. You're never going to give him the opportunity to speak to you.
And that's gotta suck. Like, imagine being blind and deaf, like spiritually blind and spiritually deaf to the word of God. Like, God's talking to you, your dad's talking to you. He's like, hey dude, I'm gonna teach you how to hit a baseball. You can't see, but I'm gonna teach you how to hit it by hearing, just by hearing me. And then bam, you go up to the plate and you're striking out every time because you don't know how to hit it. God was going to teach you, and then bam, you struck out. You're there, God. You're walking next to God, but you're just not hearing him. He walked you to the game. He was trying to teach you the directions, and you got to the game and you struck out every time. Yeah, dude, that would suck. And then what else were you talking about? There's something else I wanted to bring up. I need to start writing these things down. Yeah, you're talking about walk with God. What else were you talking about?
I give you a long-winded answer too.
It's fine, dude.
I talked about feel-good message, being scripture-based, having a community and God and pastor and friends that tell you when you're in the wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah, friends, dude. Even when you do have friends that tell you in the wrong. Like, I was reading again the book of Job, and I was like, dude, these friends are assholes. Except for one of them. One of them was one straight up honest friend, trying to be honest with them. The unbiased one. Name starts with an E. But I was like, dude, the rest of you guys are assholes to Job, bro. Like, why are you just the dude? And then people are like that when you go into the church, right? People act like those other people instead of being straight up honest with you. Like, oh, dude, you lost everything because you fucked up. Like, you must have been sinning somewhere in life. You must have cheated on your wife. That's why she left you. You must have been, you must have blasphemized God. That's why your children died. You must have done something. That's why all your oxen and everything got stolen from you. Like, you did something. You're not a perfect person. You must have sinned somewhere along the line. Stop lying to us. Like, you've done it. And in all reality, like, this person is just literally, God's testing their faith. And, this person goes into church, and then these people are like, like you said, judging them, telling them all these things, these bad things about them. Not really being there as a friend, right? Being there more as a foe or a jealousy kind of person. And those people do kind of seem like, when you look at Job's friends, they kind of seem like they were jealous friends of his success and wealth. He was the wealthiest man in the area, so that means his friends weren't as successful, and they thought that he must have done something in order to lose favor from God. And because of that, they were mocking him, talking shit to him. Surely the wicked will lose everything. You'll gain everything, but you'll lose it all. And they were just talking shit to him. And I would be, and if for a weak-spirited person in Christ, like, that would destroy me. If I go to church, like, all right, church is where I go when I'm hurting, when I'm sick, right? And I'm sick, and I'm going to this church, and everyone's denying me. Everyone's denying my sickness. I'm hurting. I'm walking in there emotionally distressed, distraught, crying. And then these people are in there. Let's just say the ushers are in there. It's like, oh, what are you doing, dude? You're not hurting. You're not sick enough to come in here. Like, leave. Like, you're not hurt. I'm looking at you. You're lying to me. You must have done something else to piss God off. We don't want you here. And that's what people would hear if they, it happens all the time. I've gone to these mega churches. I'm not going to say which ones, but there's a few mega churches out here in Arizona. And I walk with the jug, the jug, and people just judge me based off the fucking jug. I hear them talking about the jug. And then I look around, then I start listening. Because I like to people watch and listen to people. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to conversations, it's a lot of drama. A lot of people talking about other people, especially these. And how can you not? It's in human nature to talk about other people, to talk about drama, and that's a sin as well. Talking about drama, pretty much bring your neighbors down, and it's easy. It's an easy thing to do. It's dopamine filled. It's like a drug. That's why people love these dramatized shows. They love these reality TV shows because there's so much drama in it. It's such a dopamine filled thing. And it's hard to get rid of the hard. And this is me too. I love talking drama. I love talking about other people. It's fun. No, it doesn't have to be in a bad sense. It'd be like, hey, do you know what homeboy's going through? You should probably hit him up. But it's like drama, even if it's let's just say, for example, you and I had a friend had got in a bad car accident, didn't tell you. I told you, hey, our friend got in a car accident. Like, it's talking drama. Like, you should go hit him up, but he didn't want you to know. Like, that's still drama talking about someone else. And it's, easily filled thing, and people do it all the time. I don't want, I've done it before too. When we're at these mega churches, it happens everywhere. And if people are talking drama about all these other people, and you're sitting there listening to this drama, like, oh, if they're talking about these people who I think they look like good, perfect human beings, like you're walking around these churches, dude, everyone's like nice and clean, tight and everything. And like if they're talking about them, look at me, I'm sick. I look nothing like these people. Mm-hmm. Like, what are they saying about me? I'm from the hood. I'm wearing all this red, all this blue, whatever color they're representing. And they're if they're judging these people in suits, what are they thinking of me in this K-Momo gear, right?
Yep.
And it's definitely going to deter people away from going to church with those judgmental people. Pharisees, as Jesus calls them, right? You know everything about the Bible, but you don't know the Bible. Yep. You don't know the Word.
Don't know God.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge thing when I was looking for churches, is how welcomed I felt right away. Like, is someone going to shake my hand before I make it through the doors? Is someone going to greet me with good morning? And I'm saying me.
Yeah.
But just in general, like, because that's what worked for me when I went back into church. Like, I had a bunch of people coming up and saying good morning that I've never met. And, like, I can be extroverted, but truthfully, naturally, I'm not. Mm-hmm. So I don't go up and just talk to people randomly as often as others might. But that's a huge difference maker that I've seen in multiple churches, is people like saying, like, I've never had someone come up and shake my hand and say good morning at a church before. Like, there's something different going on here. And then they come back and then they stay. Mm-hmm. And like, that's so simple. We could do that every day, not just at church. We could do that at the grocery store. And like, I challenge myself all the time, and I'm still not great at it, is like either just greeting or complimenting random people when I walk by. Because a lot of people, when you really pay attention, you walk by someone, no matter where it is, as soon as you get close, it's like this. They don't look at you. And like, that's when I struggle to say anything. Like, if we make eye contact and I'm walking by, it's like, it's super easy to be like, hey, good morning. And keep pushing. But like, those little opportunities and stuff can be a huge it could be the difference for anybody.
Yeah, I think I talked about this before. I don't know if I talked about it with you, but I think I don't know who it was. I think it was Trent Shelton. Think so. Came to my high school, and he had a talk like, and it changed my life. I don't know if I told you. It could have been the first. We've had so many of these.
Yeah.
So, but I doubt if they listened to the first one, they listened to this one. If you guys did, thank you. This one might be blocked again, based off YouTube.
Probably.
But he was talking about, like, just one simple hello could save save some kid from committing suicide. Like, just being hello and saying it with a smile. You don't have to do anything else, but just one simple hello could save someone's life. And I was like, dude, that's it. Like, that's all. Someone could be having such a bad day, and all you do is say hello to them, acknowledge them, acknowledge that they exist. Some people just want to be acknowledged. Like, when you're talking about people put their heads down, I'll stare at people. In the grocery store, I'll stare at them until they look at me. And I'll make them feel awkward. Hi. But before that, I'm staring hardcore. Like, you and I are looking at you. And
just locked in.
You gonna look at me? You gonna look at me? And if they don't look at me, I'm like, all right, bye. But when someone's staring at you, you feel it. You feel like, all right, this guy's staring at me, and they look up. Hey. But it's just those little things. Like, I've always wanted to do. I've always started talking. Ever since then, I started talking to a lot more people, being nicer to people. Like what you said, just forcing yourself to go out, and it makes you feel good. even if you don't see their reaction, like you compliment someone's shirt, hey dude, that's a sick shirt. Like, hey, someone likes my shirt. My wife didn't like it,
Yeah.
but I like it, and that guy likes it. I like it even more now. And for them, you might not even see their smile. They might not even smile at you, but internally they love it. And then for you even complimenting them, they don't even have to say anything, but you feel good. Ah, that felt good. I really like that shirt. That shirt was a nice shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about it for a little bit, and then you're on your way. Versus, oh, that's a fucking ugly shirt. And you don't have to say it to them, but you thinking like that's an ugly shirt. Now you're thinking about that, like what we're talking about. Not this last one, but the one before was planting your seeds, right? Saying, I really don't like that shirt. It's an ugly shirt. I don't know why the heck his wife would let him walk out with that kind of shirt on. And then now you're walking on that same aisle. Now you're thinking nothing but negative thoughts. Like, dude, you can never catch me out looking like that dweeb, dude. Like, that's just such a negative thing. Like, I just couldn't do that. Like, he looks so ugly. And now these negative thoughts turn to other things. Someone puts their car in front of you. You're already thinking negative thoughts. Like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of my way. And all these things, before you get out of the grocery store, you were at base level, and now you're heightened because of one little. And again, this is exaggerated. It could be exaggerated form, but it happens all the time. One little messed up thought. You're driving, someone cuts you off, it pisses you off. You don't stop thinking about that one person until you get to work, and now you're pissed off about that one person who completely forgot about you. Probably didn't even know they cut you off, and now you're thinking about that person your whole day. You're at work, you're like, oh, I fucking hate that guy. I fucking hate him. Now your boss is yelling at you because you're upset, and all these things start piling on. It all comes from, that beginning thought. And versus if, hey, hello, your shirt looks nice. Now you have a positive mindset. Or someone cuts you off, they probably didn't see me. They might be in a rush. You forget about it. They forgot about it. Your whole day's way better just by being a little bit nicer. And the Grinch is a perfect example, dude. Your heart's super small when you're hating everything. It's super small, super bitter. You hate Christmas. You hate everything. You hate gifts. You hate fun. You hate love. And then you just give a little bit of love. You start caring a little bit more, and your heart grows. He loved, what's her name? Betty Lou. I think her name is Betty Lou.
Cindy?
Cindy Lou. Yeah, Cindy Lou. I knew it ended with the Lou. He loved Cindy Lou. And again, it takes a person like Cindy Lou to not give up on someone. For someone with a heart like that, a hardened heart, to expand and become a soft, loving heart. It takes someone like a Cindy Lou, someone that's going to be there persistent. Come on, let's go have fun. I care for you. Let's go. I love you. Let's go. My friends will like you. Bringing them out. And it takes someone like that and that simple hello to change someone's whole life. That one person like you're talking about. Just to smile at them and not give up on them. And it could just be one weekend, like you said, one person, you're shaking out one person's hand, hello. He said, "Oh, I've never felt this before. Something's happening good here." And now that person's going back to church. He may have only talked to that one person one time. That'll be the last time you ever talk to them. But now they're going to your church over and over, and they're meeting all these other people, and now they're growing because of that one little moment that you had with them. See, I again, long-winded answer. Went through the Grinch and other movies, but yeah, I do think I think a lot more people should probably practice that. One thing, great, just giving one good compliment a day. Could be at the gym, like, dude, you're looking jacked today.
Yeah.
Don't say anything else, and just keep going. Nothing else. And you just do that more and more and more, and sooner or later, people are gonna start thinking you're flirting with them because you're giving so many compliments. And that's when you have to tone it down a bit, and that's where you want to be, right? Where you have to tone down the compliments because people are starting to think you're weird.
Right. Yeah. No. There's a book that I keep forgetting to bring over to you that I want you to read, and I recommend everybody read it because it's by far the best book I've ever read. It's called The Power of Positive Thinking, and it's a faith-based book. He uses scripture all the time, incrementally in there, but it literally is a challenge to compliment people, and that's where I got that from, is from reading that book, and I actually need to reread it because there's so many good nuggets and stuff in there, and I really changed how I just live my everyday life just off that book, because it's a perfect example of a feel-good message with scripture tied into it, and a little bit easier to understand than the Bible. I read it side by side with the Bible personally, but it just teaches you so many different ways to have more positive thoughts and let that positive momentum roll throughout your day. Because I used to be that person, get cut off in traffic, and that 2 second incident would ruin the next 6 hours of my day because I'm just angry, and then someone else just does something to me and I get pissed off again. And I'm just sitting there angry, and I'm blinded by all the good things around me, and I'm not in a grateful mood and happy to be where I'm at, and all over something that someone forgot about the second it happened, or maybe never even acknowledged it. And it's doing me nothing but just poisoning me. And like that book, I definitely need to bring it next time.
I'll buy it. Have you looked into the 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson?
No, I'm still reading that other book. I've been slacking.
How to Find Love and Avoid Betrayal. How to Make Love Last.
Yeah.
By Dr. Is it John Gottman? I think it's Gottman. He's an old dude. I was trying to have him on here. He's too old. He lives in Washington. But yeah, I love that. How's it going so far?
Oh, it's good. I've taken a big pause from it. I've only been reading the Bible lately, to be honest.
That's good. Yeah, dude.
I need to get back into it.
That introduction of that book, I would never recommend anyone reading the intro.
The first chapter was tough to relate because it's super relationship based and like quiz based off of that. But I think I'm like 3 chapters in right now.
Yeah, it takes some time. It took me some time on and off. I shouldn't have gone off on that topic because I was thinking about what you were talking about before, and I had a fucking banger to come out with, dude. A fucking banger, dude. But we're talking the positive thinking thing, right? And you being stuck in traffic. It is crazy. People do that. I forgot where I learned it. I learned this from. This is not me. Everything I'm saying is not my own thoughts. They're all not originated. Someone else has thought these before, and I'm regurgitating these thoughts.
Yeah.
But when, let's just say you cut me off in traffic and I'm pissed off, or let's just say that won't last all day, or more than multiple days. Let's just say you and I are in grade school, or even something different. Let's say you and I are friends, and you betray me somehow, some way, some shape or form. It could be small betrayal, like we're supposed to go out and go shooting or something, and then you say no, change of plans, and you go hang out with the girl. That small of a betrayal, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just say that bothered me. Like, that pissed me off. That bothers me one day. Bothers me all day. Like, damn, DJ was supposed to go hang out with me. David was supposed to go hang out with me. We're supposed to go shooting. Supposed to go all this. I had a full day plan, and now I have fucking nothing because of him. Like, my whole day's fucked over. And then I find out that you're hanging out with the girl. I'm like, oh, dude, he chose to hang out with a girl over me, dude. What happened to bros before hoes, dude? Now I'm angry, and now, 2 days goes by. I'm still thinking about it. You forgot all about it. You hung out with your girl. You did whatever you had to do. You had an amazing date. I was a lost thought. Our whole interaction. You just said, hey, I can't go out. And we go, don't want to go out today. Can't go shooting. You hang out with the girl. You're having the time of your life with this girl. Who knows? Way better date than would have been with hanging out with me. So you forgot all about me. You forgot that whole situation even happened. But for me, I don't forget it. It was locked in my thought for a whole day. My whole day was ruined because of you. And now it's 2 days. Now it's Sunday. I'm like, damn it. Now I got to go to church. My whole week. I had real fun plans this weekend with David, but now they got ruined. Now all I have is church. What a boring weekend. Right? And now the week comes around. You still think we don't have a conversation. We're still thinking about that. And it seeps in my mind longer and longer and longer. And I'm losing. Every single day I'm losing. You're living in my mind rent free every single day, and it's not affecting you one bit. And people do this all the time. They'll hold on to these grudges for years and years and years. But for what purpose? The only person winning is the other guy. The other person that you're angry at, they're winning because they're living rent free in your house. It's like me owning this house, or me living here and not paying rent to the landlords. Like, they're not going to allow that. That's going to piss them off. Like the squatters that happen you hear about the squatters in California. Like, people are just going to their home not paying rent. Like, who does it hurt? It only hurts the homeowner, right? Mm-hmm. And your brain is like the home of your body, the central part of your whole body controls everything. So if you're allowing someone to live in there and it's not benefiting you, Like, you're losing every single time. And people do this with multiple. They hold multiple grudges. Now they have all their rooms filled up, and now their rooms are filled up with bad people they don't care for, people that are they have this anger for, and all these other people forgot all about them. So, yeah, I think the positive thinking thing. I haven't read the book, but I can only assume it's being positive, a positive thinker. I could go a long way, because instead of my thought of negativity, like, oh, David didn't want to go shooting with me. Oh, but he's going out with a girl. Hopefully this is a good girl. Hopefully it's one that's actually a good one for him. It fits everything he needs. They're equally as yoked. She's probably stronger than him, obviously. And then Sunday I hit you up, but hey, dude, I saw you went out with a girl. How was it? And now, instead of being discouraging towards our friendship, now I'm encouraging the friendship and now the friendship got stronger from that whole situation, versus becoming weaker or possibly ruined from just one little seed that was planted, negative seed that was planted versus a positive seed. So I do think, and I don't know where it talks about positivity here. I just know I've become a way more positive person after reading this. And who knows? It probably doesn't say be a positive person. It just teaches you how to treat people better. And if you apply those to your own life, like, you're going to feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
positive thinking.
So what was the big difference, I guess, maker for you and how you approached situations like that when it comes to, like, forgiveness, and how you think about a situation happening like that compared to before you found God?
I know what I heard. It was my mom's pastor said that you're letting them live rent free without forgiving them. Without forgiving someone, you're letting them live rent free in your house, and you're the only one losing. Yeah. So what I was doing before, and the way he made us do it, like, it was like a little church thing. But the way he made us do it helped out a lot. But what I was doing before that, I was holding on to grudges. I was be pissed off at people. We talked about friend A before. Friend A, who would only use me and hit me up when he wanted something. I would be so pissed off at friend A. I'm like, dude, why the fuck would you do that? Why would I hit you up? I ignore friend A on purpose. They'd hit me up like, oh, I know he wants me. I'm just gonna ignore him. I'm mad at him. And then this pastor, his name's Pastor Joseph LeFew. He's a doctor now. He's a Dr. Joseph LeFew. He was talking about forgiveness and how, when you don't forgive someone, if you have a grudge against someone, they're winning every time. They're living in your head rent free, not paying anything to be there. And the best way to get over it is forgive them. But you have to be really sincere about forgiveness, right? So let's just say, for that example, I was hurt by you not going shooting with me. First thing I would do is forgive you for not shooting with me. Then I have to forgive you the way you made me feel. All right, I forgive David for making me feel like a not worthy friend. I forgive him for whatever feelings I got. Mm-hmm. And then if I felt any type of way of you going out with a girl versus hanging out with me, you have to forgive you for that thing as well. And how'd that make me feel? Oh, I felt betrayed. I forgive you for making me feel betrayed. And you go down this whole list of things that you felt, and then by the time you're done, I mean, it is time consuming. But if you're holding dark and deep grudges for people for years, once you start forgiving them like that, it all goes away immediately. I did that one time. I was like, I'm just going to try it. He said, try it. I'm going to go home. I'm going to try it. I did it, and I felt amazing. Like, all that weight was kind of lifted off. So and this is for me, I don't know if I have for other people, when people are living in my head rent free, they're holding my brain down. Like, they're holding me down, thinking about it. Something that pops up that may remind me of a situation. Let's say I see a gun. Like, man, could have gone shooting last weekend, but David chose a woman. He chose to hang out with a woman over me. Now all those little thoughts are coming in over and over and over, and it's a weight that it's hard to carry when you're carrying a bunch of people, and you shouldn't carry any negativity. It's much easier carrying positive thoughts than negative thoughts, because negative thoughts weigh a lot more. It's like muscle and fat. Muscle weighs way more than fat, but in this situation, it's not good for you. But yeah, that's what happened. The way I forgave people, I thought I forgave people. Yeah, I forgive you. But it was like a forgive and forget kind of thing. Like, yeah, I forgive you. I'm not going to trust you again. Not going to let it happen again. Go on our separate ways. But I still think about it. I didn't deep dive and really think, all right, who knows what this guy was going through at this point in time. Maybe this person really needed something. And truly forgive him. If you truly forgive someone, life is just great. And if, for the example, someone cuts you off, maybe they need to go to a surgery. Maybe they're really late to a job interview. Maybe, who knows what it could be. But it's not worth pulling a gun out and shooting them for it. Nothing's worth pulling a gun out unless there's someone's robbing you and you have to defend your life. There's nothing worth taking another person's life for one moment in time, because that ruins your life forever. Like the anger, and you probably dealt with it way less than what other people deal with. But the anger management stuff that people go through, or lack thereof, and their impulsive behavior is not anything that comes from lack of forgiveness for whatever it may be. Like I have a cousin who's very angry, very, very angry cousin. And I talk to him all the time. And it's all about not forgiving people. Like all his anger comes from hatred towards other people that have done him wrong. And I was like, dude, just forgive them. Like these people live in a house far as fuck away from you. They don't even realize, they probably don't even know you exist. They forgot all about you. But no, like people want to live in that hatred. They want to live in that anger. And it's just a lack of God in their life. But yeah, that's how I deal with forgiveness. How do you deal with forgiveness?
So, but like, how do you forgive them? For someone that's listening, how do you forgive me for choosing a woman over going shooting with you? And especially in a situation where you may never get an apology from me in that example.
Yeah, I would do this. I mean, now when I forgive people, I don't expect an apology, because the only apology I need is for myself. Like, I'm sorry to myself for feeling like that, because the only person you're damaging is yourself.
Right.
I could be mad at you all day. Not going to hurt you one bit. You're not, I mean, depending on the person, right? Like, it could be some random, like my coworker. I don't work for anyone, but it could be a coworker. And, like, you say something like, yeah, dude, fuck you. I don't give a shit about you. But it'll bother me all day. But to you, if I said it to you, like, it wouldn't bother you. Like, you just say, fuck you. You can ignore me. But like a friendship kind of level, like I would do the same thing. Like I wouldn't expect an apology, because it's to myself. I'm the only one damaging. I allowed myself to be, going back to the sober mindedness, like with Peter 5:8 talking about be sober and be vigilant. Like that's about your emotions, right? If you're not being vigilant with your emotions, then you're allowing the enemy in, which will destroy your relationship. Would destroy our relationship as a friends if the situation was real, which I know you would never choose a woman over our friendship. Just kidding. I would hope if you found the right woman, you would choose that over shooting. But I would just forgive you in silence, because if real forgiveness comes from forgiving in silence. Like I don't need to go up to you and be like, hey, dude, you made me feel like shit. I forgive you for making me feel like shit. I forgive you for this, this, and this, because then it's going to, in return, make you feel bad and bring you down. And I think the whole purpose of friendships, and I'm reading this in Jordan Peterson's book, like Choose Your Friends. I think friendships should be equal. Like if I'm working hard for this friendship, you should be working equally as hard. And then he talks about like, why do you keep these friends around, these lazy friends around that aren't benefiting your life? And he said you could stay out of loyalty, but loyalty is not the same as stupidity, because it's stupid to keep these friends around that are bringing your life down and not bringing your life up. And they're not trying to bring your life up. You should want people that want what's best for you in your life and to help bring you up. So for me to come out and say, hey, David, you made me feel like absolute. I forgive you, but you made me feel like absolute shit. It's not going to do you any good. Maybe it might in the future if it keeps happening over and over. But hey, dude, I don't appreciate that. Like, it's been multiple times. Like, maybe we could hang out instead of you choose a different day to go shooting instead of you hanging out with Elizabeth. Just throwing a name out there. But the way I forgive is just in silence. Like I forgive with God. Like, God, help me forgive these people. These are the emotions I felt with David. David made me feel these types of emotions, and I don't want to feel these emotions anymore. I forgive him for these emotions. I forgive him for making me feel like this. And then I forgive myself for allowing me to feel like this. And then I ask God, can you forgive me for allowing myself to not be vigilant and sober-minded and allowing these emotions to consume me? Because God wants you to put those emotions onto him. Mm-hmm. If I'm feeling bad, all right, God, take these emotions away. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to have these negative thoughts towards my friend who made it, in my eyes, a simple mistake, but not a mistake to you. You just chose what you wanted to do more so versus shooting, right? In my eyes, I thought it was a mistake, but to you, it was a business decision, So that's how.
Just pray.
I guess pray. Yeah, I guess
it's like the narrowed down answer.
Not really.
Like praying to.
Not necessarily, because I won't pray first. I'll say, so let's, for this example, let's just say immediately happen. You say, hey, I don't want to hang out. I don't feel good. And then you post on your Instagram a story, like 2 hours later, you post on your story at the zoo with some girl.
Mm-hmm.
My immediate reaction would probably be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, why would you do that? Like, you're my friend. Like, I thought, why wouldn't you just tell me? Or why would you lie to me? And that'd be my immediate reaction. A lot of people's immediate reaction. They'd be hurt. And depending on how long I'd wanted to be in my own pity party and be a little bitch, you know, I let it seep in there. But eventually I'd have to forgive you. Because, you know, I'm selfish. I don't want that shit weighing me down. I don't want you winning. Mm-hmm. I'm a very competitive person. I don't want you beating me at anything. Friend or not, I don't want you beating me at shit. So if you're living in my head rent free and you're not, giving me anything, you're not being a good friend. Like, dude, I don't want you living in my head rent free. I want you to be a good friend. I want you to want to be in my head. I want you to want me to think of you. And that the only way you think of someone positively is if you do good things for them or leave a positive impact. So those are the only thoughts I want of people. So if I'm going to have a negative thought of you, I want to forgive you and get that negative thought out immediately. And again, this has all changed since being closer to God. Like, I love forgiveness over everything. Because then once you forgive someone for something, then it's easier to have a real conversation, right? So, like, if we were to have that conversation, I would still tell you, but hey, I didn't feel good. But now you're having a more sober conversation, more mentally clear conversation. But I don't think I necessarily pray first. I might pray immediately, like now that I know what the emotions are. Mm-hmm. But if I'm just getting started at this and just trying to figure out how to forgive, first thing I'm doing is I'm forgiving the person that hurt me. First thing, immediately I forgive this person. All right, why do I forgive this person? How? And then forgive them for that. Or why did this person hurt me? Or what do they do to hurt me? Forgive you for that. What emotions did this person make me feel? What negative emotions did I feel from this? Forgive them for all those negative emotions. And then after that, then I'll ask God, but if there's anything else I forgot, just get all those negative thoughts out of my head. I forgive him for everything, and then forgive me. But the first thing I do is forgive the person. Because even if I do go pray first and I don't forgive the person, like, it's still in my heart that I didn't forgive that person personally. I went to God. And just like any father would, I would assume, if you're beefing with your neighbor, your dad would be like, hey, you go tell him you're sorry. Don't tell me to go tell him you're sorry. You go tell him yourself. Like, I'm not going to be the one to go tell my other child, or let's just say you have siblings. You're pissed off at your sibling. Easier example. You're mad at your sibling. Like, hey, Dad, I want you to tell Levi that I'm mad at him. And I forgive him, though, but I'm mad at him. He's not going to say, okay, I'll do it for you. Mm-hmm. You go tell him. Yeah. Why don't you just get up and tell him? It's easy. You go tell him. I'm not going to get involved in this. I don't want to be involved in this. You're my two children. You fix it yourself. You guys could fix it. So I think that's how God looks at it. He wants us to fix our own issues with our brothers and sisters, and I think that's how any parent would want you to really figure it out without violence, obviously. Mm-hmm. The only way to do that is forgiveness and having a cordial conversation. But then, yes, I do pray.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, maybe this is completely wrong, but kind of had a good analogy that I thought of in that situation of between letting it consume you and reacting to it versus calmly like, all right, this person might be dealing with this and this is why this happened and I understand and I forgive them. Is, again, I'm not sure if this is true, but in my head it is, so we're going to use it. I thought of quicksand. So if you're like frantically trying to if you get caught in quicksand, you freak out, you're losing your mind and you're trying to frantically get out, you're going to sink faster compared to like, oh, all right, I'm sinking, I'm in quicksand. I take a step back, realize what I can possibly do to get out, and then calmly trust that I can get out by just taking one step at a time, nice and easy. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so easy to just freak out because someone cut you off or someone bailed on your plans or wronged you in some way, and you just let it consume you, and then before you know, you're consumed by it. Mm-hmm. Compared to like, all right, take a step back, I'm gonna step out, and then like I'm gonna evaluate the situation and then step out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, maybe that's not true, but
I mean, I can see it. Like, quicksand could be a good analogy for a lot of things, right? Whenever you're going downhill in life and you're falling into that trap, like it's good to take a step back and maybe see your other routes around the quicksand. I don't necessarily know if it goes around forgiveness though, because forgiveness I think is a lot. Because you don't have to be frantic. If you're angry at someone, let's just say someone, I'll use one of my examples, right? My personal life. So maybe 2 years ago, I don't know if I told you, but my grandma, one of my other grandmas, she got with her husband. Her husband bought solar for their house, and she was supposed to go through me, like get it from me. And I've been trying to get solar in her house for years. Years, went through all this work. She said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get it. I'm ready. We're ready." And then he went and bought it from some girl. He's not a godly person. He bought it from some young girl for other reasons. But and I felt betrayed. She called me like 3 days later, or texted me 3 days after they got installed or got contract signed, so she couldn't back out of the deal. And I felt like absolutely, I was very angry at first. Like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you told me for years, like you just waiting for for the right time, waiting to get your roof redone or whatever. And then all of a sudden, some little girl comes over to your house, and your husband ends up buying solar from her. Like, I've been working this for years. Like, how's my grandma of all people going to betray me? Like, I thought you loved me. Like, all these things went through my head.
Right.
Within the first, like, I got heat. Like, you feel your body warm up. And I was very angry. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what? How are you about to do that? And then about like 10 minutes went by. I was like, she's my grandma, dude. Like, at the end of the day, like, I can't be mad at her for all these decisions. And like, as mad as I wanted to be, because I mean, regardless, like, that person, I already know she went with. You worked for this company before, but they do windows as well.
Yeah.
But that's the company she went with, and I was like, oh, I know she got fucked over. Like, I know, because I remember talking to them, and they couldn't even answer the questions that I was asking because I was in that realm for so long. So I was just so mad at all this, the whole situation, because I was like, my grandma, I know she got fucked over. I know she didn't get a good deal. They probably didn't give her the right system size. Like, I know everything about this. Like, I know they probably screwed her over. So I was very angry at that, because I was like, I wasn't even going to charge her a lot of money. She's my grandma. So I wasn't even mad at the commissions. I was just so mad that she trusted someone else. And that anger literally consumed me, filled me up. And I had a decision. Like, anyone has a decision at that point when you feel betrayed. I could either let that simmer inside of me, not even tell her that it bothered me. Like, simmer inside, ignore it. Which what a lot of people do. They're afraid to face the truth, right? They're afraid to go talk to the person, let them know, like, hey, dude, that did not feel good. Like, I felt betrayed. And then they won't forgive them. Like, a lot of people won't forgive them. So I was given these two options: either forgive, 3 options really: forgive, ignore it, or let it simmer inside and become worse. I was like, dude, I might as well forgive her. Like, what am I going to benefit from letting it simmer inside? Like, I go to her house on Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter. So I see her all the time. I'm not going to see my grandma. Mm-hmm. Like, does this make me love her any less? No. Like, it's just a decision that just hurt me. It was a selfish, act. So the only thing I could do is forgive her. If I want to feel better, the only thing I do is forgive. And the thing I did the same thing I was telling you. Is, all right, first, got to forgive her forgive her herself, and then forgive all the actions, forgive all the emotions. After that, dude, I felt amazing. So I could have, and kind of going back to like your quicksand analogy, like, I don't know if that situation, because I did stop, but then I kept going, I kept moving forward. Like, all right, I stopped, I evaluated my situation. I guess the situation for forgiveness, it could be like going over a wall, right? Like, you're running. Let's just say you're running from a pack of lions, and there's a wall there, right? You're gonna have to stop and evaluate. You could run and try running through the wall, but you're gonna knock yourself out. But you have to stop and look at all your solutions. All right, I could turn back around. This wall's here. I could turn back around, but then I have to deal with the lions. I have to deal with all the hurt that the lions are gonna give me, or I could figure out a way over this wall. And the way over that wall is by forgiving the person. And once you get over that wall, you're free from the lions. You're free from all those dark and harsh thoughts that the lions are going to bring. It's ready to devour you mentally, spiritually, and probably physically down the line. But you get over that wall, and you're free from all that. And now you can think clearly. All that whole situation is gone, and now you could move forward with life. And that little roadblock or whatever it may be is out of the way. So, but I do think the quicksand thing is more of I can see that being more of a normal life situation, because forgiveness, you could let that shit simmer and not freak out. You could hold a grudge. I've heard people hold grudges from high school, grade school. Like, this guy bullied me. Their lives are completely fine, but they're still holding a grudge over someone. Who knows how that's affecting them in the future? But you could hold a grudge forever and still not have it fully affect your livelihood. But I think the quicksand thing is like when an issue happens. Let's just say your car breaks down, and that's your only car you have, and now you don't get paid for 2 weeks. Like, that's an issue. Like, now you're starting to frantically go over there, frantically move everywhere, starting to think of things like, oh, I'm gonna be late to work now. Shit, I'm gonna get written up. All these bad things start happening. Versus, all right, pause, take a step back. All right, how can I get through this like little car situation without completely fucking myself over? But I think the quicksand analogy is just good for life in general, because we all get stuck in quicksand, and it's up to us to either back up and then ask God for the right path around it, or ask God to shorten up that path so we don't have to walk through quicksand too long. So I do like that analogy, but I personally, I mean, obviously it's for either or. Like, I don't know if that person that fits for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And again, that's personal.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you can, like everything, you can kind of interpret it to your own.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that just popped in my head. Now I have to look up if it's true. Like, if you freak out and like move around, that you do sink faster rather than calmly getting out. Because I'm curious.
I think you do sink faster. I mean, that's everything I've heard. If you get stuck in quicksand, I mean, Apocalyptico, he got stuck in quicksand. The first thing he did was go move slowly through the quicksand, slowly through, step by step. I mean, he was sinking as he was sinking, but eventually he made and emerged through the other side. So, yeah, I think quicksand, if you move quick, I mean, I'm basing it off a fucking movie, from an Aztec movie where I don't know if it's true at all, but
I forget the like word that it's used or the term, but it's when like we all think that we learned something but we didn't. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What do you mean by that?
Like, we all have like a similar memory of learning certain thing. Like, an example, blood being blue before it comes and hits oxygen. Like, have you heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not like actually true.
Well, I look at my veins, dude, they're blue.
Well, yeah, I know, but I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm just like trying to use that as an example because I've heard that one used as an example for whatever the term I'm trying to think of is. So that's what I was thinking for the quicksand, is if it's something that I just thought I've learned, or if I'm just like completely making it up as I go.
Oh, that's my whole life, dude. I'm like, did I learn this? Is that right? And then I look like Texas. I think one of the first things I learned is Texas seceding. I was like, dude, in grade school, I was like, oh, Texas can secede from America? Fuck yeah, that's wrong move. That's the most American state ever. And then I found out Texas can't secede. And I was like, dude, this whole time I thought Texas could secede from America. I thought this since grade school. I don't know what thought.
I still thought that was true.
I know. And I was like, what? I Googled it too. And it says, no, Texas cannot secede. And I was like, what do you mean?
Wait, really?
Grade school told me.
Yeah, you just ruined my grade school experience because I thought they could secede.
And now I know they're lying. Now I know they're withholding information from us, dude. They don't want us to live.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, could have swore we learned this, and it's not real.
Yeah. So I think we should probably wrap. Mentally it's getting exhausted. It's a lot. We're talking about a lot of things.
Yeah, you're good.
So I did this with Monica yesterday. We'll give me a random number between, like, I don't know how many proverbs are. Do you know how many proverbs are? Let's see. Chapters. So there's Proverbs 29. Let's see. All right. Give me a random number between 1 and 31.
17.
17. All righty. And then give me another. Let's see. Let's hide these numbers from you so you can't be reading. Play a little fucking game here. So 17.
You think I got way better vision than I do.
All right. So number 17. Now give me another number between 1 and 28.
Let's do 19.
19. All right.
17, 19.
Yeah, we're at Proverbs 17:19. Anyone who loves to quarrel loves sin. Anyone who trusts in high walls invites disaster.
Say that one more time.
Anyone who loves to quarrel, so fight, argue, all that stuff, loves sin. Anyone who trusts in high walls invites disaster.
It's pretty crazy, the first part of that. Like, anyone who likes to quarrel loves sin, because we were literally just talking about, like, judgment and being judgmental. Like, if this doesn't show that God is talking to us, like, I don't know what does. It's crazy.
Know. Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, I think it's so cool just doing the random proverb.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
But I do think that too. Even if you look at like gossiping, like that's a sin. People who like to fight all the time. Let's just say street fighting. They typically sin more often. Or people who like to argue, like argument, like not saying like a philosophical debate. Oh, actually, debate and argument is a completely different thing. Argument's not letting the other person speak and kind of. When I think of an argument, let's just say I don't argue with Monica, but let's say I did argue. We don't argue. We're a perfect couple.
Yep.
Let's just say we argue, and I mean, I look in a sense like I don't yell. We don't yell at each other. We debate like normal humans should. But let's just say we get an argument. Arguments usually end up with people yelling at each other. One side not even trying to understand the other side. Only one side they're trying to get their own point across, not trying to understand the other side. And I think arguments lead to sin as well, because you're literally not allowing the other person to speak. You're if you're arguing with somebody, you're trying to belittle them and make them below you, so your argument is better than theirs and you win and they lose. Mm-hmm. So I do think that is a sin as well, and people that do that. I don't know if they love sin. Who knows how he's speaking in this. And anyone who trusts in high walls invites disaster. Anyone who has trust in their high and mighty defenses. This is how I think of it. That one. Goku. Right? The Earth and Goku world trust in Goku. High and mighty wall. But what does they invite? They invite disaster. You know what happens every time Goku powers up? Frieza destroys a whole planet Namek. Mm-hmm. The next cell comes. Could destroy the whole planet, but destroys whatever the planet the other guy's on. And then you have all these other like villains. They keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger to destroy the Earth. And when you have these high defenses and you trust and you have faith in these high defenses, these high walls, versus having faith in God, like you're inviting all these other things and other beings to come in and disaster to come in. Like Superman versus Batman, another example. You trust in Superman. You trust Superman's going to have your back. He's a protector of this world. That abomination comes in, whatever his name is. I forgot what they call him. And he kills Superman, and then he does a loud screech, and it invites all the disaster in, because they trust in that high wall of Superman, that security, and then now disaster's coming, and all these other evil villains are coming because they sense that they want to test it. Evil wants to test the good all the time. And I think if you have a good defense system, just like hackers, they want to see if they can hack the best defense system. So if you have the best defense system out there, that's way better than Norton, or Norton antivirus. But people are going to much rather see if they can hack your top of the line premier, security system versus Norton, something they know they could break through. So you're gonna get all the harder, worst enemies, the stronger your defenses are. They want to test it.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that it ties quarreling to sin, because if you simplify and kind of dumb that down, like quarreling, arguing, fighting, stuff like that, like what causes arguments and fights, like not forgiveness. So when you aren't sympathetic and forgive someone for something that they did, whether it was intentional or not, it turns into an argument or a fight or like a buildup of tension within yourself, which leads to sin. So like, I don't know. It's just crazy how much that little verse just brought everything full circle together.
Yeah. All right. I'll choose a random one now. The way I'll do it, mine is a little different.
You want me to do it on mine?
Sure.
Neutralize it. Are we doing Proverbs?
Yeah, I'll do Proverbs. One more random proverb, and then we'll wrap it up like that.
Dang, I turned right to Proverbs. It's crazy.
All right, hold it. You're there. You turned right to it.
Yeah. He who earnestly seeks good finds favor, but trouble will come to him who seeks evil. And that is, just so everybody knows, Proverbs 11:27.
Dude, I pointed. I didn't even think about it. Just pointed. And that goes into what we were talking about, positive thinking. He who thinks positively versus negatively. Who thinks positive. So he who thinks...
He who earnestly seeks good finds favor, but trouble will come to him who seeks evil.
Yeah, dude, that's deep, because evil, when people think of evil, they think of like slicing someone's head off for no reason versus like just an evil thought. Like, I'm going to run GTA thoughts. Like, oh, I wonder what happened if I run these people over.
Yeah.
And then versus the positive thinking, like we were talking about. That's deep, dude. What do you think about it?
I mean, once again, just ties in everything. Like, if you are seeking good, whether that be in, like how we're using the traffic example, just because it's so easy and so relatable. The way that I make it easier to not dwell on it is I create a scenario in my head of, oh, they have an emergency. They're going to the hospital right now. I'm going to pray for them. It's a little bit harder when I can see through their back windshield that they're just like, but like I seek to find good in it. And rather than, the one who thinks like the evil thoughts, like, oh, this guy's just trying to piss me off right now. And then I spiral down and I'm getting angry and I go give him a middle finger, half a peace sign. And it's like, well, I mean, obviously, like, I'm not helping anything in that scenario. Like, I'm just bringing evil to it all, when it could have been an accident, could have been a scenario, could have been a rushing to an emergency. So just like that positive thought or positive scenario, even if it's not real, like your mind doesn't know the difference. That's why the positive, like, affirmations and stuff is a thing. Because if you can convince yourself, your mind can't tell what's real and what's not if you're just processing it. So that's...
Yeah, it's crazy how it tied it all together. We do random things. That was literally, this whole thing was random. So
yeah, so from both of us talking about verses that, like, how God speaks to you from the start, to now randomly picking out Proverbs, both of us, that tie both things together. Like, I don't know, it's crazy to me, like, as a believer, like, all these things that those can't just be coincidences. Like, all three of those tying together when none of it was planned. Like, this is God talking to somebody, whether it's us, someone listening, like, something like a revelation that we got that maybe we don't understand yet. Just, it's crazy because, like, these things, like, solidify my faith even more, because I'm like, how could you not believe? Like, he's given me all these answers. Like,
right,
he's tying everything together and making it flawless. Like, if we didn't tell you that none of this is planned, like, you wouldn't know any different.
Yeah, that's crazy how you said that verse. Like, it's what you're talking about, and that's literally what I read this morning. That'd be crazy if we're reading at the same time. You thought that thought, and I was reading, and I was like, bam, this is what we're talking about. But yeah, dude, I mean, these little Bible studies, I think they're selfish. I think of them as selfish, even though they're for everyone to see. Are now 20 viewers, thanks to YouTube. I gain a lot from these things, so I think it's very selfish. And I don't mind it. I don't mind it being selfish, because at the end of the day, we're only bettering ourselves, and if we keep doing these, bettering ourselves, we're only get better. Everyone else around us, but I'm still not changing that much.
Yeah, I mean, we're improving our own ministry, so when the time comes, we can minister to others.
Yeah, however that may be. I want to end with closing thoughts.
No, other than if you don't know Jesus, no better time than now to accept him into your heart and seek a relationship with him.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. David's going to be gone. I might do one with Monica next week. Who knows? But definitely in 2 weeks, David will be back on. It was fun having you. It was a great Maybe we'll have more to talk about after you're done and on your vacation.
Little idea. You should have one with Monica next week that talks about, like, relationships.
Yeah, that's what we're probably.
And then, like, that way it's you and, your lady. And then we can do one the next week as like two guys.
Two guys in their relationship. Dude, you're going LGBTQ plus on us today, dude. Whoa. The Bible.
Just like the tie of God in relationships And it can be like both like actual relationships and like friendships and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Just like the different perspectives. That might be a good one.
Yeah, I'll probably do. That's probably what the topic was gonna be on, like God and relationships, how it's changed our relationship and her relationship. Because we started out. I don't know if we started with God in it. Like we weren't going to church. We're doing a lot of fucking drugs, a lot of drugs, and then yeah, everything started working out. But yeah, dude, I'll see you in 2 weeks, dude.
Yes, sir.
It's fun. I won't shake your hand because my arms look too jacked when I do it.